What's up, everybody? Welcome back to All Things Nerdy with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe. Today we have our special guest at the end of the month. I know it's the beginning of the month, but we kind of timed it this way because of the season finale of Demon Slayer. So we have our returning guest and anime panel constant, Eli, joining us today to talk about Demon Slayer, My Hero. I would assume that most of our content today is going to be based around the season finale of Demon Slayer, but we can kind of get into it. Joe?
Yep, super excited to talk about it. Yeah, the final episode of Demon Slayer was pretty much made the whole season worth it, I would think. But just to throw it back out there will be spoilers, so just keep that in mind as you guys are watching. And glad to have a guest on, but without further ado, Eli, talk nerdy to us, man. Let's go.
Man, yeah, so we got like the war of worlds here with both of these shows, because that last My Hero episode, a little bit of a fall off maybe from the Dabi showdown, but My Hero coming through, the anchor show. That's why it stands the test of time.
Yeah.
So again, spoiler alert. Yeah, dude, the Dabi showdown was so big, but I called it. I don't know if you watched the episode or not last week. I said that My Hero is going to find a way to fuck it up, and they did. 100%, dude. Like, there's so many ways they could have let that end, and it kind of stays true to My Hero on the fact that they refuse to let people die. No matter how impactful it could be, no matter how good it would move the story forward, or anything like that, they just won't do it. So Dabi himself said he's going to burn so hot, he's going to die, right? Like, he doesn't care. Like, this is his last thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, Todoroki does his thing. Like, how impactful could it have been, like, if Dabi dies right there? Think about the impact that it has on Endeavor, him fighting All For One, knowing that because All For One tells Endeavor what he does to Dabi and how Endeavor impacted how they approached Dabi and all these things. Imagine if they come over the comms and Todoroki tells him that he had to kill Dabi.
Yep.
Dude, it makes the story 100 times better.
Yeah.
But somehow he survived. Like, all of that showdown, like being on the brink of death, and but they pick him up and they're just like nonchalantly, oh, he's alive. It's like, oh
yeah, which also, that's another one of my beefs with the show is, like, I've mentioned this before, but they're like, no one will ever die. We're just going to put them in a straitjacket and strap them to a chair in a prison basement for the rest of their lives, because this is better and everyone wins this way. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's terrible.
It just feels like constant plot armor for every person in the show, which my thing is a show predicated off fights, because that is what My Hero is, right? It's like a shonen. Is that what it is? Yeah. Right? Like, it is a show predicated off fights. Like, each season builds to a fight and things like that. But the problem is no one goes. It's just like, it is just a placeholder for next season, and it's rinse and repeat. It's going to be the same people fighting the same people over and over. Dabi was in last season. Dabi was in the season before, right? The only difference was the hero killer, Stain or whatever. Like, they removed him, and Bulldozer. Like, they didn't die, but they just kind of removed them, And it's ridiculous, dude. It makes it frustrating to watch, because My Hero is a really fun show. It's a really fun series. But the fact that there is nothing on the line, their city's getting fucking destroyed.
Yeah, are you telling me people aren't getting killed when the cities are getting leveled? Like, no, come on.
Yeah, this is like, it's not like
save everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like world-ending power, but it is like country-destroying power. But yet no one dies. And these kids are in high school. They're training. They're learning. You're going to tell me one doesn't fuck up and die somewhere? Like,
right? Like, the whole, 7 seasons, there's been 3 deaths that I can remember, right? The Midnight Lady that had, like, the scent on her skin, right? When she got hit by some cement, like, the most anticlimactic death ever. Mentioned it in passing twice, which that was pretty impactful. And then Star and Stripe, which was a character that was on 2 episodes. Right. So that's the only thing that I remember, right? So the entire 7 seasons, there's been 3 deaths, and then 2 of them have been like, okay, but like didn't really make that much of.
Yeah, it was so short-lived. I remember too in some of the seasons, like I thought they were alluding to people dying. It's like, oh, they disappeared and there's just blood splats on the ground. No, they just show up later. They're fine. Just got their powers taken or something. Like, what? Like, oh, the future telling dude, All Might's buddy. He got stabbed in the stomach and died, right? But
Okay, yeah.
That was definitely like the most impactful. That season was great too. I was really like, I was kind of taken aback, like when they had the whole villain arc. And we're like, oh, okay, we're really like diving into. And the point of the show at this point is like, well, we want to be sympathetic and like try and understand where the villains are coming from. But then at the end of the day, it seems like no one can compromise or come to any terms. So like, why are we even going down this road then? Like,
yeah, it feels like filler because it doesn't matter, right? Like they just took Shigaraki and like they give you all this background and all this stuff. And I know what they're doing. And what's going to happen is Izuku, instead of like defeating, they're going to come to a common ground, right? Which is going to allow them to defeat All for One versus like one of them having to kill the other. Like it's just the show at this point. I really enjoy My Hero. This season has been good. But it is hard to want to watch knowing that they refuse to draw a line in the sand and then cross it.
Yeah.
It's just because I know from here to the end, until there's the showdown between Midoriya and whoever, nothing impactful is going to happen.
Well, the same argument you just said for those, the Shigaraki and Midoriya, like they're using that with everyone. They're using it with
doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, any of the bad guys, Dobby, everyone. They're like, oh, this chick is just insane, but she just really wants to be seen. And then they try and have a conversation, and no, she's just insane. So I don't know where we're going here anymore. Oh, Dobby's my brother. You're gonna be sitting at the dinner table. I'm gonna burn out and like unalive myself basically with fire before I ever forgive any of you. No, I'll just knock you unconscious and all will be well. Where are we going? Where are we going with any of that?
Yeah, and I called it too, right, Joe? Like I said, this is what they're going to do, and it is and it pisses me off because that episode was so good. That is probably one of the best fights, one of the most iconic moments of My Hero. For them to just disrespect that moment the way they did pisses me off so much. Like it is just like they had it. They icing on the top, right? Like fucking cherry on the cake, whatever. Just Dobby dying in Todoroki's arms, going over the radio, explaining to Endeavor what had happened, and then Endeavor fighting All for One in that moment after Endeavor explained how he manipulated and used his rage to create the monster that is Dobby, right? Like imagine that writing. Imagine that story. It'd be so good.
Yeah. I still did like how like they went through the Endeavor and the All for One fight, like how it showed like he was losing control and it was getting to him, like that kind of stuff. Like it was still impactful, but it would have been a lot more if he had actually died and they didn't. It's like, oh look, he's knocked out. I can't believe he's breathing. We got a comment here. Let's see. Cody Landry says, alternative to getting killed and being brought back with Dragon Balls is to never kill anyone. I mean, that's fair.
I will take the Krillin getting 5 lives and it being a meme than no one ever being able to die at all.
Krillin's death still is the most impactful death in the anime to this day, even though he came back. And I know, Nate, you say that like negates his whole death, but in this case it didn't, because he still caused the first ever Super Saiyan to come into existence.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, but so Dobby, I mean, it doesn't even have an impact, right? Like it's just I don't know. It's frustrating.
It is something that's kind of defined the show, though.
But yeah, I mean,
like since day one, the show's kind of PG, right? And like people who don't like it are like, it's a little too kiddish for me. And I'm like, it's such a good show, and the writing is so good. But yeah, I mean, I can't argue that anymore. Like when you've put
it
the plot armor on
constantly
everybody.
falls in my rankings. If you go back to our like top 5 rankings, like I had My Hero because I'm kind of newish to anime right at this point, probably about 2 years something. Yeah, God, has it been that long? 1.5 years? I don't know. Anyways, like I was like, dude, I really enjoy My Hero. Like I binged it and it was a blast and I liked it. But like I'm getting burnout in the fact that it's the same thing over and over, and there's nothing on the line for any of these people. Like it was also one of my issues with like Naruto. Like when the Pain are destroying the whole village, and then like Pain's like, you know what, my dying wish, here's everybody's life back. Fuck, like I won't, and now they did let Jiraiya die and stuff like that. Like Naruto, Asuma, they had some impactful deaths, right? It was just like certain situations where I was like, dude, that's ridiculous. But My Hero does it the whole time, and it's just it takes away the excitement of watching any fights because I'm just like, yeah, the animations are cool, the fights are okay, but there's no repercussions. I know nothing bad is coming from this fight for either side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, when you have like you said, like such intense fights, like came out of nowhere, total left field for me. But when they were like raiding the labs and the muscle mommy bunny chick got into the fight with the Nomus, I was like, oh my god, like I love this right now. I had never even paid attention to her character, and all of a sudden, like, this is one of my favorite characters done. And because the action was so good and it was so intense, and like you could feel the power, the desperation, all of it. They convey it so well. And then you're just like, I see her again. It's like, oh, you got some weird prosthetic limbs. And then it looks like you die again, but you don't. You actually just have replacement prosthetic limbs waiting, and you're fine. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. And dude, like, All For One took a chunk out of Endeavor. Right now, look, I get that you can't kill Endeavor right now. I didn't expect him to die, but you took a fucking chunk out of him, right? Like, how you coming back from that?
And then Hawks is literally just spells out. He's like, I just missed his lungs. He'll get back up soon. What?
Bro, you're missing like your whole life.
Yeah, he's gonna use his fire to like what is it where you burn it off? I can't remember the exact word. He's just gonna use his fire to close the wound up and then just continue fighting. We got another comment from Cody Lander says, this is the current issue in boxing with Jake Paul. People want to watch for the potential of a knockout when in reality we get these mundane fights where they both walk away rich. The fatigue wears on the audience.
That's a perfect analogy.
That is like the perfect analogy.
That's real. It's just boring. He just gets bored. When Jake Paul first started, I was like, I want to see him get knocked out. I was excited. Then you realize like neither one of them gives a shit, and they're just out there for the money. You're like, it's boring. Yeah, and that's what it feels like with My Hero. My Hero is freaking Jake Paul boxing and anime. There you go.
Carrot on the stick. I'll never get there.
But I mean, before we get into Demon Slayer, though, like I would say, like, even though they don't like you feel like there's nothing on the line. Like, I don't know, they always set it up so well to where you feel like there's a chance. Like, this is gonna be the time. Like with Dobby, like. But with Dobby, though, I was like, after that, I was like, this could be the time. Like, how would he survive that? Like, and then he survived it. But they just do it so well, like making you think they are about to die. And they're just like, oh, guess what? They're not really dead.
Yeah, and I think that makes it worse, right? Like, if Todoroki openly said, I just knocked him out, let's call the cop. Like, I'd be better than, but the way they ended it, you're like, oh, yeah, that, like, Dobby's done. Like, he gave everything he had, and Todoroki bested him. And here we are. But no, like at this point, I don't even know if they can do it well because Dobby was set up so nicely to die. And it would have been so impactful. The fact that they didn't kill him, I just don't believe they're going to do it for anybody, which makes from now till the end of the show pointless. It is all just action filler. Like if you want to watch good fights, go watch them knowing that nobody's going to die, nobody's going to happen, nothing's going to go. Like it is what it is. But until you get the Midoriya showdown, like none of it matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine the end of the show. Like, what's the end game scenario we're going for? Because if I'm to take the way they've been pitching it to me seriously, everyone is alive, and now all the bad guys are friendly and everyone's holding hands and having lunch together in the final episode. I'm like, that's not possible.
That's how Deco would end it. That's how Deco would have it. That's what Deku wants.
I think they will. I don't even know if they kill All For One. I think he ends up in prison.
Yeah, I think they put him back in prison, and Shigaraki comes back onto the good side or something. Like he makes the breakthrough, brings out his inner child. They keep flashing to, but I mean, what are we on, like 9 episodes, and there's 21, right? So
I think it ends mid-August, doesn't it?
I have to see how many episodes there are, but I think like 12 or something. I thought it was like 21, but I may have gotten the numbers mixed up in my head. But we shall see how it ends. So Nate, I mean, and Eli, looks like you're both on the same page of no one's going to die, and it's going to be fun to watch, and it's still good. It's still a good anime, right? Like, still good show to watch, but it's never going to be like that top tier, like pull your heartstrings out kind of anime, just because they refuse to do what needs to be done to make it. Like, they just won't cross that line.
In my rankings, it is going to continually fall because, like, there's nothing on the line, and they have removed any of that, anything that was left, any kind of hope with the Dobby thing. It doesn't matter, right? Like, it is just falling. It is plummeting in my rankings. Now, the Dobby Todoroki fight, fantastic. It is great, beautifully animated, really well done. It doesn't matter the outcome of it because that fight was just so good. But ultimately, like, the show itself just plummeting in my rankings.
Yeah, and I mean, it's gonna probably follow all the tropes, but they put themselves through so much more work to play it out this way. I feel like, because this is how it will play out: is Deku reaches out to Shigaraki, and Shigaraki ends up probably turning on All For One, and he helps Deku beat All For One, and then it's a big thing, and something has to happen so that All For One loses all of his powers, because he can't die. We know he's not going to die. He just needs to go to prison and be on feeding tubes the rest of his life, I guess. But we can't have the option of him coming back, so all of his powers have to get taken away. Now you have to figure out a way to orchestrate that. How's that supposed to happen? All this extra thinking when you could just be like, we beat him, he's gone. Like, why all the hoops?
Yeah, it's frustrating. All right, what we've been waiting for. Let's transition. We can continue to drag My Hero for everything that it is. Great fight, shitty story, end of day.
Well, one more quick rant. I just have to point out, I feel like they were throwing it in our face with this last episode with My Hero. The name of the episode was Extras, and it was the most on-the-nose filler piece of crap ever. They spent the whole episode just to go around and tell everyone, "Ooh, Dobby got beat." Like, literally, that's all I'm
literally
saying the whole episode. Like, are you just effing with me now? Like,
I mean, as soon as I saw the title, I was like, "Yep."
What?
All right, so let's do it. Let's talk about the Demon Slayer season finale. I think we got to talk about the season as a whole. There will be spoilers. If you have not watched it, turn this podcast off. As much as I want you to watch this podcast and listen to it, it is worth waiting for. It is worth waiting to watch and all that, because this is basically what all of Demon Slayer has been building up to. So if you have not watched it and you have any intention of watching it, turn this podcast off right now.
Yep. Bye. Bye. Yeah, bye.
Have a great day.
But for those of us still with us,
scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate the season finale for Demon Slayer?
I would give it like an 8. I'm gonna give it an 8.
An 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
Now
you're
it did
harsh.
A lot.
That's harsh.
I'm always harsh. It did a lot of things really well for me. Like, I didn't see a lot of it coming. Surprise. Like, if we're just going into full spoilers, like, the fucking house blew up. I was not. Who would have expected that?
No.
I didn't even know who did it. I was like, wait, was
that his move? Like,
right?
Like, Demon's ultimate move.
Demons make shit blow up? Where have they been hiding this power? But
blood art explosion.
Yeah. But no, and then then to have everyone come together, like, oh, okay, like we're just here now, like this is just happening, like there's the Hashira, like I was not ready for it to just like with a bang, literally just all come together like that. But that being said, there wasn't that like there was a lot going on, but there wasn't that much like fight action really. Like I have been waiting forever to see the Stone Hashira in action. Himejima, come on. I am waiting for the movies now for this moment. And all I got to see was like 5 seconds of him throwing a chain. And they put so much effort into animating that chain throw. But that's all I got. So that's my beef.
I teased you. But
I'm okay with it, though.
I know.
IMDb rated it. I guess it's backwards. But IMDb rated that a 9.9 out of 10.
I think it's also like one of the highest rated episodes on Crunchyroll and all kinds of stuff right now, which so the thing about the last episode, the animation was next level good. Like at this point, the studio is just flexing how good, how much better they are at animation than any other studio. Like they are just like pulling it out, putting it on the table, like what you got, you know, like it was beautiful. The explosion was great. Their storytelling ability is fantastic. Listening to Muzan and fucked up face guy, I can't think of his name, right? Like listening to them go back and forth, their families, all of that. And you want to talk about a show that's willing to kill some people?
Oh my god!
Dude just whole I don't give a shit.
I got so many questions about that.
Just murdered his whole family.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he was going to die anyway. I get it. He had like 2 minutes left of his life, but his wife was right there holding his hand. His kids were in the yard playing ball, like, and he was like, "Fuck it." Boom.
I think the thing is, right, like if they're not there, maybe he thinks Muzan knows. And he knows this is their one chance for Muzan. So he's like, I got to do what's necessary because his whole life has been doing what's necessary for the Demon Corps and protecting humans. So sacrifice sometimes has to be done. I think he was willing to show that he's able to pay the ultimate price to give the Hashira a chance against Muzan and able, like, to be able to bring them together for a singular purpose, right, is going to be so impactful.
Stephanie says, I wonder if they knew they were going to die. And then she does say, sorry for the cats. But no, I read it in all caps. Like did the wife, I would say probably, right?
I think she knew.
Yeah.
She knew, but there's no way those little kids are like, yeah, we're about to die. I'm just
little kids are weird, though, right?
Like, yeah, what is up with that family anyway?
But like he just annihilated his whole bloodline. Like, what if this plan doesn't work? You just ended your bloodline, and you're supposed to be literally the bloodline that fights the demons. Like that's your sole purpose of your bloodline. So
I mean, they consider it a curse, right? Like he tells Muzan it was like that his blood has been cursed. Like they are descendants of the same family, right? And like his family birthed the first demon, which is Muzan, right? So now it's their responsibility to fight Muzan. So. Dude,
exactly. He copped out. Like
he gave the Hashiras a chance. I don't think that's copping out. If that is the only chance you have to take it. Now, look, the kids stuff, like I don't understand it. I think it does add to the story. I've seen a lot of discussions and forums and stuff about killing the kids. Like, if you want to talk about like driving conversation and stuff, like it matters. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice for the ultimate prize of killing Muzan? And he said, you know what? Fucking everything.
Yeah. Well, it gave me a lot of like questions about his character as well. Like, I hope it kind of touches on it a bit. But like, even Muzan was like, what the hell is with this guy that like would have such seething hatred? He'd blow up his whole family, but I never felt any malice from him whatsoever. Right. And like, this guy was a full-blown psychopath. Like,
right, he hid it. Like he hid his malice that he was about to kill everything.
You know,
right? That is totally like, I love you, so I'm going to kill you, kind of thing. Like, and the one thing that in my mind I was wondering is, you know, like they could use their breathing techniques to run faster, right? Like Zenitsu, like we've seen it. None of them thought to do that.
They look so slow.
None of them thought to be like. Yeah, they're like running to the like all, you know, and they all get there around the same time, but it's like not one of them thought to use a breathing technique to increase their speed to get there faster. Yeah. Now I know like if they did that, they would have been blown up, but they didn't know that. Like they were out of the loop.
I think this is one of those things where you have to step back and just be like, it's a show, right? Like there's things for a reason. Like if they all used it, all got there, it would have defeated the purpose of what was happening. Guyomi, how do you pronounce the Stone Hashira guy? Like he was there fast enough. He knew what was going to happen. Like he agreed. He agreed to the plan and stuff like that. I think the other Hashiras were a specific distance away. Maybe if they used a breathing method to get there, then they would be gassed and not have the stamina to fight. And they knew that if there are demons at the manor, they were going to have to fight. Therefore, you hold your stamina, your breathing form ability to fight the people that you need to fight. And I think if they would have been like, oh, this breathing technique to get there, like that's almost like plot armor, because like I think it would have changed the story and would have made it worse. I think the way it was, the way it worked out was amazing.
Sure. Yeah. But I also had that exact same thought, Joe. Just like, okay, so Tanjiro just casually used Zenitsu's like running, like, you know, lightning ability. So that means they all could just learn that and do it too, right? Like, why? I had questions about that too. But yeah, I'm not going to look too much into it. I just, you know, while they were all running and they're all sweaty and out of breath, and it was like, aren't you like the best of the best?
Yeah.
But taking a jog to the woods and you're
I guess
they ran miles, dude. Quickly.
Yeah. And I guess to be fair, they all trained literally all day, so it's not like they were fresh. Like they were fighting each other. We had just watched a sparring match between the Water Hashira and the one that like crushed the eyeball, kind of, you know, and realized they were there. So that it does make sense. Like, you know, they're not at full power, which kind of thinking to that, like, you know, their adrenaline's probably pumping out. They're falling in the infinite castle, right? Like, they're probably going to get to full power pretty quick, realizing all that happened. But what do you guys think that's going to come from, you know, the demon that kind of disguised herself and stuck the cure inside of Muzan? Like, do you think it's going to take effect and it's going to make him weaker, or like, what do you think? It's just going to like, hey, he said, hey, that doesn't work on me, but then she was like, I perfected it, right? But so what do you think is going to come out of that?
I think at the end of the day, it will give them the advantage. It will give Tanjiro the advantage that he needs with the supporting cast to hold Muzan out into the sunlight or allow him to be headed and to be killed, right? I don't think it will just turn him human. That would be a weird way to end it. I guess if he turned human and like the whole last episode is him flashing back through all the terrible, awful things he's done and kind of having to come to grips with that. Because as a demon, he's like, I'm immortal. I'm not going to die. I have to do this to survive, right? Like my job is to do this. But if he becomes human, then like maybe he has to come to grips with what all he's done.
His humanity comes back.
Yeah, but even like, dude, the way that moment with that lady, like, I agreed to this to see my children reach adulthood when she murdered her children after becoming a demon. I was damn, dude, what?
Throwing it at you.
And he's like, you've killed thousands and thousands of humans out of desperation. You know, like it's just, bro, it makes you realize that a lot of times they didn't know what they were agreeing to, that they're not all shitty. And Demon Slayer does it so well, making you feel for both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's again been kind of the point there that they've been pushing is like Tanjiro always seeing the humanity in the last moments of everyone, but they still die. And then I mean, like every fight is pure desperation. You literally don't think people are going to make it out of the show, and you don't know if they're going to because people can actually die in the show. So it has more weight, and you enjoy the fights more, and it's more edge of your seat thrillers. So, and they also don't do anything that's unnecessary. So the little like make you human serum, it's going to play some kind of effect. Yep. The blood art spikes, it's going to play in some kind of effect. Like everything's going to have something, like you said, like, and it'll come back and, oh, well, there he's about to beat us. Oh, but the serum takes effect a little bit and rattles him, and now we've got a fighting chance. Like, I can't wait. But I did feel like they, and this sounds weird, but they kind of made Muzan way too soft in that last episode. Like, he just walks up casually and stands there and listens to someone bullshit and shit talk him for 20 minutes. And then the daughters are standing off in the courtyard, and he's just like, that's fine. They can just keep playing ball. I don't care. Like, he would murder everyone immediately, like even people sneaking up on him and stuff. I was like, I know we've seen him in action. We've seen how absolutely cutthroat, ruthless he is, how powerful he really is, you know, flashes like so why is he just a guy standing here getting talked to?
So I have the answer.
I think he's showing respect, like, right? Like, this dude devoted his entire life and his entire bloodline to like chase him down. Muzan's close to his goal, right? Like, he probably knows where Nezuko is at this point. Like, he's got all his ducks in a row, so he's like, you know what? Let me hear this guy before.
Well, he says he doesn't know, but that they're gonna find her, right? But also, he does state to the dude, "You smell like death. I know you were dying." There is no threat to Muzan in that. If I'm the most powerful motherfucking being, and the only guy opposing me is dying, right? And I'm like, and I openly say, "You smell like death. I know your kid's over there. I can kill him in a second. Your wife's right in front of me. I can kill her before you blink." Like, I have no issue with the way he handled it, because at that point, you're kind of just, you're untouchable. You don't give a shit. Like, you know, he can't do anything. And what he does do is such a surprise. And that's because Muzan didn't think he could do anything. And that is why Muzan let his guard down, because he knew he was dying. He knew he wasn't a threat, which is why he was surprised at what he was able to do. So I think that is why he listened to him, because he was like, yeah, I'll listen to you. Why not? You're about to die. I can humiliate you. I can, put you out of your misery whenever I want. Like, it's almost like him posturing, him showing off, him being like, I can kill you whenever, but if you want to say what you want, go ahead.
Yeah,
maybe I'll let you, maybe I won't.
Muzan would have had like a little bit more to say or something. Like, we've seen him just be cruel for no reason and just like kill, behead people, cut people in half, whatever. Just random people, and now he's in the presence of like his mortal enemy. And I get the posturing and like ultimate confidence thing, but like he literally just didn't do anything. He didn't show any strength, and then he got dropped on, and then he got punched in the gut, and then he got spiked in his head. And I'm like, you just let all this shit happen? Like, I mean, kudos to all the planning. That was amazing, but
he was caught off guard, right? Like, so the explosion threw him off. He's like regenerating, like his body is fucking gone, right? Like, he's coming back from nothing. So and then he says, like, I didn't sense you. Where did you come from? And she like snuck up on him. Even the blood art card, he was like, whose blood art is this? Right? Like, he, like, from the point of the explosion, he was reactionary up until the Infinite Castle, right? Like, you see the little smirk, and that's when you know, like, yeah, he fucked up. It almost tells me, like, that little smirk, like, he planned for all of this, right? Like, he wanted all of the Hashiras in one spot. He wanted some control. Now, he didn't expect it fully to go this way, maybe, but you can tell he was ready.
Yeah.
That smart. Maybe that is the ultimate power, is like, you're all playing right into my hand. And then what he doesn't expect is the will of Tanjiro, the mark, and all of that stuff to like bite him in that. Zenitsu being locked in game mode, baby, right?
Yeah, what is this about?
Yeah.
Get some theories going there.
Yeah.
I wonder what that letter says, man. It just like took the whiniest kid on the face of the planet and just made him stone cold. Like,
so supposedly, this from Keaton, right? We don't know what the note says. No one does. But if you watch stuff on YouTube and you read the forums and everything, a lot of it is one of the main demons is the demon that bullied Zenitsu, or not the demon, but the kid that bullied Zenitsu while like Zenitsu was growing up, which he's still a kid, but like whatever. But also is the kid that turned his back on Gaomi, the Stone Hashira, and led the demon to all of those kids.
Yeah,
is there. So like Zenitsu is just locked in, fucking focused, ready to like murder, like revenge,
Yeah, as soon as you got that Himejima backstory, the moment you're like looking at the room of all the little orphan kids, and that like asshole kid shows up on screen, you're like, that's a lot of detail for that character. Clearly that person is going to be relevant and be making a lot of, it's just one of the things in anime, like you put a lot of weird, marks and jewelry and stuff on that person, like they're going to be a character for a little while now. So it does make sense if they would come back. But I honestly thought that maybe he was like got some orders against Tanjiro or something, because he was just
that was my first thought. Like I even mentioned to Nate, I was like, does he have to fight Tanjiro now? Like what? Like why would he be so cold to him when he comes and offers him food? Like you could be stone cold and not an ass, right?
Yeah,
I think he's just locked in. He realizes that he's about to have the opportunity to enact some revenge, right? Like take some flesh, and he's like, I need to make sure I'm on the top of my game, and which was a complete 180 from the whiny ass annoying Zenitsu. It was kind of cool to see. Like, let's talk about the trio and the entrance into the Infinity Castle, right? Like Tanjiro's pissed off. Like you hear him yell "Muzat" with bro. I'm like, yeah, let's go, baby. Yeah. Right, and then you see like Inosuke, which is to the point of Inosuke.
Yeah. He's about to chow down. Yeah, he's like, yes.
He like notices what's going on. He's fucking hyped, baby. He's like, I'm about to kill some people. He like puts on the boar's head. He's stoked. And then you see Zenitsu, and it's just game on, baby. Like Zenitsu is like the equivalent of leaning forward in your chair while playing games. Like there's the like chill, relax. Like, no, I don't care. It's cool. You just boot me.
Yep. Hold on. I gotta lock in.
Like he just leaned forward in his gaming chair. It sucks that it's cool that it's gonna be 3 movies, but it sucks that it's gonna be 3 movies. And because like you're gonna get one, it's gonna be basically like a side story. They'll touch on some stuff, right? But it'll be some really good fighting, some great animation.
Well,
then it'll be another year before you get to watch the next one.
We're looking at like 2 to 3 years here, but if they follow the same format that they've been doing for the movies, which are really just playing the episodes, they're going to replay the last episode first as part of the movie. So you're going to have to watch 30 minutes of filler before we even get to new content again. I'm like, I don't want this anymore. I just want to get into it.
I looked it up a little bit. They said that it wasn't necessarily going to be that way. It was just going to be all new content for the movies, which fingers crossed that is the case, right? But it does suck. Like it's going to be so satisfying, but then so like dramatic of an end at the same time, because like you're going to watch the movie and be like hyped, and then be like, I have to wait a whole nother year. Like like hopefully
arc, it's not like a movie and then a new one. So there's going to be continuation. There's going to be cliffhanger, and I'm avoiding spoilers on the internet like the fucking plague. People that have read the manga and like, well, this fight happens, and like I already know some stuff about Inosuke and the person he's fighting, and I'm like, no, fuck you, stop. I'm like, show me less, and it's just, oh god. So it's going to be so rough to like not see all the stuff from now till the release of the movies, and then from that release to the next release, and it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I mean, the world will be abuzz after the first movie comes out, because everyone will know how long they have to wait, so they're gonna Google some stuff. Everyone's gonna be talking about the content before it gets animated. Like, it's gonna be rough.
Like literally, if I see any like Demon Slayer as I'm scrolling Facebook, I'm just like, nope, done, get away.
Same.
And it's frustrating, but I've already read a couple things before I even realized, like, because after the episode, I was like, oh, cool, let me go like check some stuff out. I want to see what people think. And then even without like spoiler or anything like that, people are like, oh, well, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And I'm like, no, why?
A-holes. Yeah, it'll be fun. I suspect they might do one episode of recap, because that last episode was clearly full cinematic quality. The CGI was better than we've ever seen. I was like, is this real? I can't like.
It'll be an abridged version, right? Like, I don't think you'll have to rewatch the whole conversation. Like, I don't think they'll take that episode and put it at the front of the show, but there will be a recap, because there's going to be a year in between this episode and the movie, right? So like they will like kind of summarize the conversation. You will see the explosion. Right. You will see the full length of the Hashiras. Yeah, you'll see the full length of the Hashiras all running. Like, we got to save them, getting there, being sucked into the Infinity Castle. I think you'll see their responses. But I think it's cool. Like, Muzan, the only person he said anything to in the Infinity Castle was Tanjiro. Right? Like, you have all these Hashiras. You have the fucking Stone Hashira who just in one throw of the fucking ball thing, like, took half your body away. And you're like, Tanjiro no Kamado. And that's the only one you're paying attention to.
It was an eye opener too. Like, it didn't register with me, but when all the Hashiras show up, like Tanjiro is the only one who knows what he looks like. Everyone else is like, oh, what? That's Musan? Like, I was like, oh shit,
yeah.
like, these guys have no experience
seen
with them whatsoever. And Tanjiro actually has like not fought necessarily, but like, you know,
there was a
run-ins and
confrontation
stuff.
when he like smelt the dude, which
Right.
also like they've kind of backed off on some of the scent stuff with Tanjiro,
Yeah,
which is
true.
weird because it was so strong at the beginning. He's like, oh, I can smell this, I can smell that, you know, like if I don't know. Anyways, but like he could smell him in the crowd of people, and there was that confrontation between them, and just it's so good.
It'll be fun. I mean, there's a lot of setup. I'm super sad because I'm like, man, you could go into so much more story with so many of these characters I love, but here we are. I mean, they got so much to wrap up still, so much backstory that they just kind of touch on. We actually didn't see like any end results from this massive Hashira training arc, and like, oh well, Tanjiro is like just kind of checking the boxes of, you know, each Hashira's training programs, but you don't really see the results of any of that. You don't. The only moment that you're like, oh, okay, is when he's watching the Hashira fight, and he's like, oh, I can actually like follow him. You're like, all right, well, that doesn't really excite me that much. So let me see this.
Like
we're about to, or I guess in like a year, like
right.
you know his skills, like it's gonna have to pull all of that into play.
That's what the whole season did, was to show you the difference between the Hashiras and the regular Demon Corps, right? To elevate Tanjiro, to show you that he is on Hashira level, to show you that Inosuke moving the boulder and all that is right there. This is why they can compete, right? But it also shows you the elevation of the Hashiras, that they should be there, that they should be able to compete with the upper ring demons and stuff like that. But honestly, like this season, outside of that last episode, was kind of a wash. Like it was just not a great season. It was really boring. Not a lot of action. Not a lot of storytelling. Right? Not a lot of anything. It just it felt like it was just pointless. It did not move the needle. People weren't like they were talking about the mark. We have to figure out the mark. None of them even did that. Right. Like what the season, the last episode made this season okay. The last episode was fucking amazing. Don't get me wrong, but the season as a whole was a waste.
I mean, I wouldn't say a waste. Like I still enjoyed watching it though. Like I like seeing the different, the different Hashira strengths and how their personality changed when they're around Tanjiro, like that kind of thing.
You can do that other ways.
I know, but like I wouldn't say it was a waste though. Like it was still enjoyable content. Would I say it was like, I do agree with you. Like overall, the season, I would just be like, okay, it was good. Like it was mad, right?
It did not move the needle at all.
It was basically a filler arc is what it was, but at least it was relevant filler that they can tie back to versus you pick your head up in Naruto and there's an episode where they're fighting an Elvis impersonator and it means nothing, right? Even though it was more filler-esque, like it was still enjoyable to watch, and like I still would recommend watching it.
I think this is where I'm spoiled, right? Like Demon Slayer set like their standard, and I expected that standard for each episode, each season. Like they kind of created like, this is what we do, so I expected that because it's been that way for every season up to this. So this season just felt off, and I don't feel like it moved the needle. I don't think it really gave you an understanding of everything that they set up that they wanted to capitalize, because I was expecting Tanjiro to work more like closely with the Hashiras to figure out the marks and all those things, because that's how they set it up. But it felt also rushed. The fact that there were only 8 episodes, like I wanted to see him training more with each Hashira, getting to know them, working on the mark, perfecting like not their form, but kind of like trying to practice it to show that, which he's already shown it with Zenitsu's and stuff like that, like, but kind of understanding their form. And they just didn't bring any of that in. It was literally just like training and hopping from one to the other as quick as possible. And then the last episode, it was beautiful and all that, but like there was not a lot of substance in the season, in my opinion.
Well, I think I'm kind of nervous that they might go this route now, and kind of when they refer back to this season, I'm afraid they're going to be like, oh, this is how much all the characters grew. Because again, my complaint with this season was like, I didn't get to see the results of how they grew. Maybe Tanjiro is like massively improving, but it looks like he's just using the skills he already has, like it's a workout or something, and now he's done, and we're on to the next one. Didn't see the Hashira gain much. Didn't see them get the mark. And like maybe they all improved a lot,
really get better.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see any of it. But again, I did enjoy the season. For me personally, I just got to trust my gut. And I enjoyed this season more than the last one, even though the last one had like upper demon fights. And I was like, I just didn't like the way that one went at all. So
I don't think the sword art was not sword art, sword arc, right? I don't think it was good. It was probably the worst season, even with this season being how it is. But I agree with you, is like, there is no way to be like, this is what he did, this is what he got better at. Like, I know he got stronger. He can focus his energy on his muscles to move boulders, which he couldn't do before, right? Like, so I know he's increased his stamina, he's increased his muscle ability, right? But
he got more accurate, right? Like you could say that he picked up something with every training, like the one where he had to swing and not hit the other students, that kind of thing, and then he had to increase his flexibility with one of them. Like, you could say he did gain something from every training that he did.
But that's what I'm worried about, is that they're gonna like show that off in retrospect. Like Nate's saying, like the show has set itself up in a certain way, so give me that like adrenaline rush moment of seeing how each of his Hashira trainings, even if it's like for 10 seconds, let me see how this is culminated. What has he gained from these trainings? Just in something that gets me excited. There wasn't much to get me excited in the episodes.
What did he get from the Wind Hashira?
Just flex a little bit.
What did he?
Well, wait, was that the one he got kicked out of? Like, that doesn't count. He didn't get anything from him. He got kicked out. That's the one you can't. But hold on. Before we go to this, we do have 3 comments.
Yeah, we got some comments
here. Just to get Fritz in here. Fritz says it was good. That was like talking about this season when you were trashing it and dogging it, Nate. So
it was good. It was good. It's just not as good as I wish it was.
He said it was an excuse to spend money, right? And then as far as the Hashras, like, he thinks it was nice to see the Hashras. Like, it was cool to be able to see like them individually and what their strengths were. Yeah, we could have seen more of the Wind Hashira, right? Yeah. He was a jerk and got in a fight with his brother, and then he got Tanjiro got kicked out of his training, but. I mean,
like the paper airplane thing. Take that out and let me watch them spar.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. The paper airplane thing was like showing like the effect Tanjiro has on people. Like, he took this cold like guy who like didn't want to talk to any of them, and now they're all out there together like enjoying it, and it showed like you can't always just focus on training and beat people to death. You have to give them a reason to want to fight.
I think it ties together because they're all trying to like, they're explaining the mark, and they're like, well, it always starts with one person and then it spreads to other people. Well, this is the emotional effect that Tanjiro always has on people, is that his mentality and his like emotional intelligence always spreads to other people. So that's going to end up being the freaking key to like unlocking the mark in people. Is like, well, open your heart and be friends with one another. Whatever.
That's like the name of any kind of shonen most of the time.
I know, but
I mean, come on, like talk no Jutsu Naruto, like it's literally like, but that's the thing.
You gotta tie it together though. Like, it seems corny, but like, you know, in a way, the paper airplane scene is still how they're gonna end up culminating the marks to murder everyone on the other characters. You know,
friendship kills.
Yeah. And the conversation about like, oh, next time I see him, I'm going to bring, what was it, like a rice ball or some kind of thing, like the Wind Hashira's favorite treat is like, oh, I'm going to do that next time I see him, so then he'll be my friend.
Yeah.
It's like,
so like, I get it, but I think, and look, I'm not saying the season is bad. It's just I wanted more. I wanted to see him spar with the Hashiras more. Honestly, like him kicking the Wind Hashira and stuff shows you how much he's improving, because he wasn't like able to do that. And then like the slit of the dude's like jacket and all those things. Like, there's little things, but like I just wanted to see more, even if it was just more of the Hashira sparring of what they're expending each night. Like, I guess it's probably what they wanted, but it left me wanting more. Like, there was, other than the last episode, it didn't feel at all like satisfying to the point where like putting a period on the end of a sentence. Like, it just felt like all open, and like there was no point where I could be like, that was like, that's what he did. That's what he worked on.
To get me excited. Even when he's moving the boulder, I was like, yeah, obviously that was about to happen. Like, I don't know. And then still my complaint for even the last episode is like, I only got a flash of the action. I got one attack from the Stone Hashira. Like, I wanted more still. So yeah, definitely.
I'm excited to see him. Like, I'm excited to see that dude just go nuts in the castle.
I mean, the most exciting moment in the entire season for me was the first episode where everyone is getting in a fight at the Hashira meeting, and he just goes, like, sit down, and his pressure hits everyone, and you're like, whoa, like this guy just put the smack down on all the Hashira. Are you kidding me? Like,
dude, and his backstory was important, and it was really good, really well done. Like, that was a hell of a flashback. Like that, you want to talk about an important, like, that flashback mattered. It was good.
Yeah, it was weird though that his backstory was like, I was just always this strong. I just decided to be a Hashira. Like, okay, like your story struck me and everything, but like you were always just a monster. Like, that's all we get of that. Like,
well, he said he was skinny. He said he wasn't strong enough to defeat the demon, which is why the kids ran, and he understood why they ran, because they didn't think he could defend them, right? Like, and then he works to get this strong. Like, now
he manhandled the demon in the end.
Yeah, he pretty much said he thought he was scrawny, but like he didn't know the strength that was in him. He was like, oh wow. And then he beats the demon, and for an entire night, he beat the demon all night long. Like, do you know how much strength and stamina that would take to this dude who's starving to death?
He like grapple lock with the demon and won. What?
And then just pounded him for like hours, hours.
Dude, this shows you the difference between the people of My Hero and Demon Slayer. How cold that kid was. Like, yeah, he murdered him.
Oh
yeah,
right. You would never see that on My Hero ever, right? And Demon just like casual, like it was him. He did it. He killed them all.
That was weird though. Does anyone think there might be more to that? Like, oh well, the kid must have just been scared and like mistold the story. Like, that's a pretty big misunderstanding. Like, I don't know.
I mean, well, she was like 4, right? Yeah. And that has to be a traumatic thing. I think it kind of just is what it is. It set him up to go to jail for the dude to save him and allow him to reach his potential and believe in him when no one else did. I think that's really more what it's speaking to, is that the fucked up face guy like empowered him and gave him a position to thrive. And I believe in you, and you're a good person. I know you're not a murderer. And I think that's how like it builds that bond between them, which he also says, you're the only Hashira that would allow me to enact this plan and back me up. And it's because of, what he owed to him saving him in the first place. So I think that is what that was leading to.
I mean, and I liked the backstory for him, but of all the backstories and interesting, like everyone else's backstory involved like multiple people and interactions, felt like Stone Hashira got the express lane there. Like, it was a little just like, okay, and now you're just going to have to swallow this, and he's really strong.
I mean, it felt like that the whole season. Like, this season felt like it should have been like 20 episodes, right? Like, so you could have really focused in on each Hashira, each part of training, each backstory. Dude, I could have, like, the Stone Hashira could have been 3 episodes, 4 episodes of the backstory, just flashing back the kids, building that. Because, like, you don't even see him really building the relationship with the kids and seeing how much they meant to him or anything. He's like, I ran an orphanage. Here's the kids. Demon eats kids. I'm pissed off. Beat the shit out of the demon. Went to jail. Got saved. All in, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's so much.
And then he has, like, I thought it was really awkwardly long how long he's, like, standing over Tanjiro, just, like, telling him his whole like mantra and life story and feelings and everything. I was like, that's a weird amount of time.
Eli, quit picking on the blind dude. He doesn't know where he's standing.
Yeah. Also, Tanjiro's like, oh, he's blind. What?
I didn't realize it either. I just thought his eyes were drawn that way, but then I was like, oh, his eyes are like that. Like, wow.
Yeah, I thought it was just artistic expression for his eyes to be that way. Like, that's just how they wanted him, like, to make him stand out. I had no idea he was blind.
Oh, okay.
Makes him even more of a bad A though. That like he's the strongest Hashira and he's blind. Like,
yeah. Oh, I do take a little beef too with like, I guess it ties into not really seeing the results of this training that everyone went through, but like I felt like every time Tanjiro had an interaction, a little spar or tiff or whatever with a Hashira, it really illustrated to me the gap that there still was. I thought we were closing the gap here, and like he's really just underwhelming versus the Hashira still, and it's like I thought he was closer.
but he's overwhelming compared to the rest of the demon corps.
Yes.
And I think what they're showing you is like with our power combined, right? Like it's kind of illustrating that you can't do things alone, that you need other people. And I think Inosuke and Zenitsu make up his weaknesses, right? However, I'll not say what I'm about to say, so you are welcome. But like
I would say like it seems like they did show that big gap between like him and the Hashras every time, like pretty much at the end of each training session, like you were still like, okay, like you passed his training, but you're still nowhere near the Hashra.
Right. Like but him like cutting the shirt.
I think once he gets in battle though, all the things that he learned one thing at a time are going to come together, and he's going to be able to learn how to use all of that, like focusing his like putting his focus into one thing, being the more agile, more accurate, that kind of stuff. He's going to be able to focus it all together in the Himokami Kagura and be able to be on that level.
Yeah, and also we still see him like go into blind rampages and go superhuman in these fights and stuff. So like, of course, that'll happen too, probably.
Yep, Himokami Kagura.
But you do see the massive difference, right? Like he thought it was a big success to just like clip the dude's like shirt thing, right? And it just shows you the massive difference between them, you know?
Yeah, it just seems odd to go from that directly into, and now we're watching the end of the show where we're gonna fight the end game boss.
Yeah, and the end game calls out Tanjiro versus any other Hashira. Like, the stone Hashira just chopped me in half, but you know what? You kid, Tanjiro.
He's got the mark, Nate. He's the one with the mark. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, and we've not connected the dots with why did Musan go search out his family and murder him? Why does the number one demon look like the way that Tanjiro it's how Tanjiro like envisions his father, and then it's his father's friend, and it's like,
but the timeline of it being his father doesn't add up, right? Like, because like
he's hundreds of years old.
And he was like considered like the greatest swordsman, right? Because like the little doll puppet thing was like mimicked of him, so it can't be Tanjiro's father, so it has to be like a descendant.
We got a scene of Tanjiro's actual father holding Tanjiro, sitting next to this guy, for this demon, and having a conversation with him. I'm like, what mind fuckery happened here to like connect these dots? So there's just a lot for them to wrap up. I'm excited for it, but
the movies are going to be good.
Yeah, but please give me 2-hour movies.
Right,
dude. Do we just mark a spot in the middle of all of us, wherever we all are? I mean, for me, there's no fucking telling, right? Because I move constantly. But we should just be like, this is middle ground. This is where we're going to watch the movie.
Yep, we have to watch them together for sure.
New Orleans.
I would go with New Orleans.
But it is. I think we went 30 minutes over what we were supposed to do, which I mean there was a lot to talk about, right? It was the final episode, so it makes sense. But any last minute thoughts you guys want to share before we hop off?
I'm hyped for Demon Slayer. My Hero let me down. Like, I don't even like. I'm not excited to watch the next episode of My Hero at all. However, I am like fucking ready for the release of one of these movies. Like, it just shows you the drastic difference between the two.
Yeah, if you would have listened to this like on our first episode of this where we started talking about them, it was the complete opposite. It was like, My Hero, let's go. Demon Slayer is so slow. Like, I'm not even gonna watch it when it comes out, but My Hero, as soon as it comes up. But now it's like the complete opposite, which is hilarious.
Well, Joe, something I think I've asked you on each one of these. What do you? So I'll leave you on this. I want to know what you're currently watching, and Eli, I'm gonna ask you too since you're guessing it up. So Joe, what are you currently watching? Are you still watching Black Clover?
Yep, still watching Black Clover. I mean, I think it's got like 170 some episodes, so it's a long one. I'm like episode 50-ish or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, it does continually get better too. It is not disappointing me so far. So I recommend it after you get done with Boruto.
Yeah, I'm on like episode 4 of Boruto, so your and I's like speed of getting through episodes is a lot different.
Yeah, you watched Frieren though in the time that when I started this. So
that's true. Eli, what are you watching?
There's some fillers in there. I'm watching ton of stuff. A lot of weekly releases, which I hate doing, but thankfully some of them are wrapping up. But I just finished up Shoka Tensei, Childless Reincarnation. That season ended. Demon Slayer, My Hero. That time I got reincarnated as Slime. Oh, I did just marathon Dead Mount Death Play, and it was like 24 episodes. I actually got to watch like a full season of just not that long. It's great. I recommend that show. It was really funny. It had action. It's technically, I guess, an isekai, like person getting transported to another world. Does not play that way though. So, Dead Mount Death Play. Pretty solid. Not like incredible, but pretty good. And then I'm catching up on Classroom of the Elite, which I do also enjoy.
Nice.
I couldn't do it. I got one at a time, man. The My Hero and Demon Slayer weekly thing, like that's so much pressure on me from what I normally do, but I normally got to do one at a time. Like I cannot. That is so many. I would be getting stuff confused. We got a couple comments before we end. Stephanie said, complete 180 for you, Nate, and what you were excited about. And we have video graphic evidence of this as well. So go back to episode 1 of this, and even 2. Like maybe even 3, like all the way up until this point, it's been like My Hero, let's go. And Demon Slayer's so boring, but now it's like
I didn't say boring. Whoa, that's a misrepresentation of what I said.
And then Fritz says, I can't even say, what does that say?
Yeah, Tsukimichi.
Tsukimichi. Moonlit Fantasy. It's not that bad.
I started watching that one. I think I got like 3 episodes in. I was like, it's a little too cartoony. Not cartoony, but like it's so silly. It's so silly.
Have you watched Free Run, Eli?
Yeah, I don't know what episode I'm on, but not as far as you guys, I don't think. Even with that,
it really picks up about episode 8. But and then announcement before we all dip, because I know we're over time. This is our last episode for anime. It finishes up our month long. We are moving to video games with the release of NCAA, which everybody knows I am pumped about. Cannot wait. So this month, the rest of this month, we're going to be talking about video games, and I say the rest of it. I'm going to miss a couple weeks this month due to being out of the country.
How dare you?
I know, right? I'm sorry. Maybe you can fill in for me, Eli.
I don't play these games.
He said, I don't play your games.
You're having a classic JRPG podcast? No.
We don't know. But so we'll be doing that. But appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate y'all hanging out, talking with me, all that stuff.
See y'all later.